Yesterday, I don't know if you guys saw, some of you might have been there, I went on to Wick's channel while he was live, talked to him and... Oof, what was the other girl's name? Was anybody there? What was the girl's name that I was talking to? He had somebody on there for like an AMA. And they were talking about the Jonah Hill stuff. Nora Pickles, okay. So yeah, so I went on and I talked to Wick and Nora Pickles for a little bit about the Jonah Hill stuff. I didn't do it live. I wasn't on stream at the time, so I just hopped on and talked to them for a little bit. I looked like Donald Trump. I was completely orange because I hadn't like set up all my lights and everything. So Rora. Oh, did I say Nora? Oh, you said Nora. Okay. Yes, Rora Pickles. Yes, you're right. Rora Pickles. And so yeah, I went on and talked to them about it for a little bit. And yeah, it seemed weird because I don't even know what exactly Wick's take was. There were other people who were calling in just giving really dumb takes over and over, and so I called in just to talk about how dumb all of those other callers were. And I still didn't know what their takes were, but it seemed like to me they were saying, what's up, Scale Dragon? It seemed like they thought that asking your girlfriend not to post bikini pics is like too much. Play your call. Alright, let's find it. Tomfoolery Show. We're talking about people that aren't used to having relationships and girlfriends and stuff, and haven't asked, so don't know what's too much to ask. Yeah, maybe. I mean, like I've talked about this a bunch before, like it does seem as though a lot of people who are online more often seem to have had less relationships than most people, and less experience. And I know that a lot of people use that as an insult, and I'm not like insulting anybody. It just seems to be the case. In my personal anecdotal experience, that just seems to be the case. And so, yes, I believe she is a birthing person. Yes.
When I'm deep in the woods tracking wild game,
I think she's a Twitch streamer. Recovered Pick Me, Twitch partner, Weather Geek, Cooking Challenges, Buff Girl Arc. Partnered with Meta PCs.
Let's bring in the next caller.
Let's do it.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, you got a camera for us?
Yeah, I have my camera on.
So I'm showing this one first because this is the girl that I had an issue with.
I agree with. First of all, I'm Rena.
Hello.
Hi. I agree with some of what Jonah Hill was saying. Just a few things. I don't agree with him wanting her not to take bikini pictures. Oopsies, that's not working. Because she is a surfer. That is part of what she does. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever to want her to stop taking bikini photos.
People keep saying this. People keep saying this, and this is so infuriating. She's a surfer. She has to take pictures of herself in a bikini and post it on Instagram. That's her job. Have you never met a surfer before? A surfer's entire job is taking bikini pictures and posting them on Instagram.
Because
Probably
it-
helps her business.
Yeah, exactly. It does help her business. I just forgot everything else that I was going to say.
That's
But
fine.
cutting toxic men and cutting toxic friends out of her life, I think is actually a good idea. If she has friends that are whispering in her ear, telling her to do things that she should not maybe be doing, maybe that's a good thing. We don't know all the details though. That's the thing.
So, let me ask you the same question. Do you think it's right for someone to? I don't know if you heard the last caller, for example.
I
But
did.
okay, what do you think? Do you think it's right for someone to ask another person that they're getting in a relationship with to stop doing what they are doing in order to be in the relationship with them?
No, not at all. Because let's just use OF as an example. You see this girl's OF, you message her, right?
Many such cases. Go on. Yeah.
Yeah, you message her. You say, oh, like, you're attractive, you start dating. You can't ask the OnlyFans girl to stop being on OnlyFans
Why not?
because, one, that's.
I can't stand women who talk like they're trying to convince 5-year-olds. Yes, dude. When I worked in a restaurant, I used to, like, women would come in and talk to me, and a lot of times I would be like, are you a teacher by chance? They'd be like, yes, I am. How did you know that? That's so good. How did you do that? I'm so proud of you. I'm like, just a stab in the dark, I guess.
That's where you met her. That's her source of income, and you knew what you were getting yourself into.
I don't know if I agree with that. So let me ask you this, right? I meet someone who's dating around, right? They're dating several guys,
Yeah.
and they're just, they're on Tinder, they're on Bumble, they're on all these sites, right? Hinged or whatever. I don't know all the dating site names, Grinder or whatever. And you meet them there, right? And you know that they're going
Yeah.
on dates. You begin having a relationship with this person. Do you think it's okay to ask them to delete their Tinder and Bumble accounts and to delete their and to stop seeing these other guys?
I feel like there's a point if you want to be monogamous
Yeah.
where there's an exclusivity where
Mhm.
you say, yes, I would like to only see you and you only see me. So,
Sure.
yes.
So the reason I ask this is what's the fundamental difference in your mind between asking someone not to be on Tinder and then not to be on OnlyFans?
um, probably the money portion of it. That's how they make their income.
Yeah, this is just, again, so this is such a bad take. Over and over, every time somebody says this, each and every person who has said this, I've said to them, okay, well, let's say we're in a relationship and I realize that I don't want you to do this and I'm not able to be in a relationship with you anymore if you're doing it. Do I just break up with you and tell you after? Or do I tell you this is the issue that I have and give you the opportunity to make the decision on whether or not you want to sacrifice that thing for our relationship? I think it's a lot like they keep saying, I think it's disrespectful to tell them that you don't want them to do that. Yeah, it's disrespectful, maybe to some degree. It's not nearly as disrespectful as it would be to not give them the agency and allow them to make their own decision on whether or not they want to sacrifice that for the relationship.
Because there's a vast difference between making an income through posting pictures and dating someone on, You know, I just think that now other people might not look at it that way. They might.
Okay.
You dare challenge women's autonomy? No, it's you dare give women autonomy? That's what it is. You dare give women the autonomy to make their own decisions? How could you?
Look at OnlyFans like cheating, right? And somebody still talking to someone else while they're supposed to be exclusive. It could also be cheating.
That's a big thing to switch up on though. You have to factor the risk there. Yeah, of course. It's a big ask. Like I've said this entire time, it's a huge ask. You're asking a very big thing. Sure. But again, it's better to ask than to not ask. Like, it's better to say, this is what I would like, than to not say it.
Right? So,
Yeah.
but I think those are hard to compare just because.
Oh, we can see you now, by the way. It's working.
Job,
Okay,
but it
great.
depends if they see it as a job or not, right? So
Yeah. I guess I don't know if the income's enough for me, right? Though, right? Like, for example, I know women who will never date someone who's in the military, right?
Why are people so keen to tell other adults what they can ask of each other in consenting relationships? So the problem is that you can get to a point where you're asking too much, and we're going to get to that when I jump on. Like, you can ask too much to where you're kind of like crossing a line, you're getting a little bit too abusive. But I don't think asking for like one thing, or having like one barrier, one line that you draw, like, that's normally okay. As long as it's not like, my one line is, you're not allowed to have friends or family, right? Like that. As long as you're not isolating the person to where they're not allowed to be around anybody ever whatsoever, then like generally you're going to be okay.
Who just won't, because it's such a dangerous job. There's so much, they get deployed all the time. It just doesn't work for them. So I've known women who have dated people who were in the military, had careers in the military. That's how they made. And like they start dating this guy. They find out he's in the military, or they even know he's in the military before they start dating, right? And then they're like, if we want to get married, if we want to start a family, you need to leave the military because I'm just not comfortable with you doing this job, right? I'm just not comfortable with being with someone who's moving all the time, who's engaged in possible combat and things, or who's doing these things. And I don't think that's wrong. I think it's okay for a woman to ask, or a man to ask their spouse or potential spouse to say, I don't want you in this job which I don't like anymore. And I don't know if that's manipulative, controlling, or abusive. I think that's just
No.
yeah, I don't know.
No, that's not, because my partner that I've been with for almost 7 years actually looked into being in the military before he went to school for accounting. And
Somehow his Discord stuff ended up a little lopsided again. It's not nearly as bad as it used to be. It's still okay, but it's definitely not what it used to be.
He wanted to be a cook, which is fine. I'm fine with that. But when he failed the part to be a cook, they wanted to actually, I forget which part I think he was going to be in front line, and I was like,
yeah,
no,
if you
no
fail,
way.
if you fail your if you do not score high enough on an ASVAB to be a cook, you're probably an infantryman. So
Yeah, I think that's what it was, and I was like, no, you're not doing that. I have seen MASH way too many times.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, but I feel like he was trying to better her for getting the toxic people out of her life, and she
that could be alienation, though. Like, we don't know, right? Because it could be a situation where he just doesn't like those people. Now, there might be a valid reason. We don't know. They could. What if they're drug addicts? What if they're, what if they are genuinely bad people?
have to see.
Please to me. And yeah, I polite voided. Was that a polite void? I don't know if it's a polite void. Tomfoolery, you're in my chat saying these takes are trash. Come give us your take, friend.
Come on in.
Yeah, come talk to us about this. If our takes are trash, tell us why.
That's like one.
I'll
Her.
give you if you way. No, I get to see you, right? It doesn't have to be pretty. Look at us, right? Well, look at me. I won't speak for Rora. Rora is beautiful, but me.
Oh, maybe not.
Uh-oh. Yeah, it's a camera, but it's a I don't know what it is.
There you go. Oh, is it turning on?
There it
Yeah,
is.
there-
Hello.
All right.
Okay, why are our take? First of all, what is my take as you understand it for the Jonah Hill thing?
I wasn't even talking about your take. I was talking about the caller, the girl who called in.
Rena?
Everything she
Okay.
I guess. Everything. Trump foolery, yes. Yes. You guys can appreciate my lighting now. You guys can appreciate how great my lighting is right now. How much work I put into this amazing lighting. When you look at what it looks like when I just turn it on out of nowhere. I didn't plan on turning on a cam. I thought that I was just calling in. Then they asked me to turn on the cam. I was like, okay, freaking crap. Everything she was saying was just so insane. Like, I had this argument with a bunch of people in my audience as well the other day. It just seems so weird that you, like, I could go date a porn star because I'm watching her porn and I think she's freaking hot. I think she's freaking awesome and I want to go date her. But as soon as I get into that relationship, I realize that dating a porn star might not be for me. It would be more disrespectful to just break up with her because I can't handle it than it would be to tell her and give her the option of saying, hey, either like, you know, this relationship is important enough to me to leave doing porn and stay with you versus just saying, oh no, you can't ask her to stop doing porn. That's wrong to ask her to stop doing porn. You just have to leave because you're too insecure. Yeah, that just seems insane.
Go ahead, Rora.
I just think that I wouldn't say it's necessarily wrong. I do think it puts them in a shitty position, but that's communication, right? It's not going to be comfortable. I just think if okay, I have a question. Do you think it's selfish to ask that of someone if you date them knowing who they are?
No, I think it's like good communication for a relationship. I've had girlfriends ask me to quit jobs. That was a bad answer. I fixed that answer. That was a bad answer before, and I've done it because the relationship was important enough to me.
Okay, fair enough. I do think, though, to some degree,
like, it is selfish, but it's also beneficial to the other person. So, like, it's both.
all communication is selfish, and it has to be, right? We have to.
Well, let
sure.
me ask you, Tom. Let me ask you, Tom, though.
But just before,
okay, yeah,
it can't just be selfish because it is also for the other person. Like, it's to make the relationship better and so that both of you are happy within that relationship. So it's not only selfish because it's also for the other person at the same time.
I do agree with you that it is respectful to at least communicate that versus just dip out because it's like, oh, you're too much to handle. I do agree that there would be kind of honoring that person a bit by giving them the chance.
Do you think, let me ask you.
Boom. Boom shakalaka. That is the main argument. That is the main thing here. That is the most important thing to get across is it is important to voice your concerns and your boundaries and your insecurities within a relationship. You should do those things. If you have a problem with something, you should not just keep it to yourself. You should not just bury it. You should not just try to deal with it. You should voice your concerns, let the other person know, and allow them to try to work it out with you.
You this, Tom, because I'm not sure I agree with you entirely here. But I'm trying to find your boundaries. Do you ever think that is there anything that's inappropriate to ask your partner to do, right? Or
it may be driven by internal or personal needs, but the act of communicating to find a functional compromise is not selfish. So it's selfish to a degree, right? You're asking the other person to do something for you, right? But they also benefit from that. So it's not because this is why I said it's not only selfish. We can say it's selfish to some degree because like it's mostly about you, but each person in a relationship has to make their needs known, and there has to be compromise back and forth. So you voicing your concerns is what makes the relationship better. It is what makes it to where both of you are more likely to be able to sustain that relationship. If somebody, I had a girlfriend one time who broke up with me, and then after she broke up with me, she listed off like 10 things that she had an issue with. I was like, what? You literally said the opposite of that the entire time we were together. Like, you were encouraging me to do these things, and now you're telling me that you have an issue with it and you're leaving? What the hell? You could have just told me. I would have switched that stuff up in a minute. I would have changed it in a second. I would have had no issue changing that crap up. But she didn't give me the respect and give me the opportunity to make the changes. Instead, she just decided that it was she said I was going to resent her and that I wouldn't like her anymore. And so she would rather just end things. And that's insane to me. That's like, it's really gross to just make that decision for me.
Or not do, right? Is there something that it is inappropriate to set as a requirement for having a relationship with you?
By Six Logic, all boundaries are ultimatums. Boundaries are ultimatums, yeah. Boundaries have to be ultimatums. If there's not an ultimatum with a boundary, it's not a boundary. It's just like a preference, right? I prefer blondes, but I'll date brunettes. I'll date redheads. It's just a preference. If I date a blonde or a brunette or a redhead, I'm not going to ask them to dye their hair blonde, right? But doing OnlyFans work, that is a boundary. I will not date somebody who is doing OnlyFans work. And if I'm dating a girl who says she wants to do OnlyFans work, I will tell her, I will break up with you if you do OnlyFans. That is the ultimatum, right? That's what makes it a boundary now, is that there is some sort of line there that I am not willing to cross. I think that there can be areas where it's obvious that you're getting a bit too controlling or you're asking too much. An example? Yeah, so like if all of your friends seem to be problems, all of your friends are people that I don't want you to hang out with, it doesn't seem as though I'm actually having issues with a specific type of person. It's the issue is that I don't want you hanging out with anybody else but me. This would be like a little bit too controlling. I'm trying to isolate you. And generally when I'm capable of isolating you, this gives me more of an ability to abuse you and manipulate you. As soon as I can get all of the other voices out of your head, I'm capable of being more manipulative in this scenario. So I think that those are like huge warning signs if you have problems with everybody that the other person hangs out with.
Well, this is a question from my chat, but I'm gonna riff off of it a bit, right? Do you think it's inappropriate to say, honey, I love you, but unless you do anal, we're through?
I don't think you should get into a relationship with someone you hope to change fundamentally, but both parties should be willing to compromise. Sure, I think it's rare that people actually get into a relationship with somebody that they wish to change fundamentally, right? Because they wouldn't like that person. They wouldn't want to be in a relationship with them if they don't like the fundamentals about them, right? That just wouldn't make sense in the first place. That's something that I've never heard of. Even for girls who are the, like, I can change him types, they don't want to change him fundamentally. They just want small aspects to be better or to work better with their lifestyle or work better with their preferences. But generally, that's not the case. Now, if you go into a relationship, like I said, and you don't know, so like I gave the example at the beginning of the porn star. I start dating a porn star because I think she's hot. I'm super attracted to her. I think she's awesome. And then I find out pretty quickly that dating a porn star is not for me. That doesn't mean that I went into this relationship planning to change her fundamentally. It means that I went into the relationship not knowing what my needs are. And then once I realize them, then hopefully I voice them. Instead of just breaking up with her, hopefully I tell her, this is my issue. This is something I'm not comfortable with. I thought I was okay with it. I was wrong. And hopefully we either negotiate that, or we're adults about it and say, like, yeah, I'm not, she says I'm not willing to do this. This is too big of an ask. And I say, okay, I gotta go. No, I don't think that's inappropriate.
You don't think that's
no.
inappropriate to ask? You know she's
No.
uncomfortable with it. You know she doesn't like it. But you set it as a requirement. Like,
His question was, is it okay to draw a boundary that you have to have anal sex? That if I don't get, you didn't have anal sex into the relationship, but a couple years in, out of nowhere, you're like, I have to have anal sex. He said, do you think that's an inappropriate thing to draw a boundary around? And I said, no. I don't think that's an inappropriate thing to draw a boundary around.
we will no longer be together. I will leave you and the children unless you give up that booty. Right? You give up the booty, or I'm gone.
Dude
You
loves
got,
anal.
you
Damn.
got all our 6 kids, right? Nope, they're not gonna have a father anymore. They're not gonna have a daddy anymore. You got to give up the booty, or or I'm going to Scooty, right? Like, I'm getting out of here, right? Do you think that's appropriate?
I mean, you're adding a whole lot of other issues in there, like leaving your
Sure,
kids is
but
a
these are
totally different
relationships,
issue.
right?
No, because leaving your kids is a totally different issue than not wanting to be with somebody anymore.
Oh, well, okay,
Also-
let's take the kids out. I support you. I give you so you left your job for me. You quit your OnlyFans for me because I asked you to quit your OnlyFans, Tom, right? You respected me enough to quit your OnlyFans. So you're reliant entirely on my money, right? I pay the bills. We live in a van down by the river, but it's a really nice van down by the river. Okay, it's got cushions and seats and Wi-Fi. It's really great, more than you could afford on your own. Okay, and so no kids, no nothing, but we've been together long enough. Unless you give me the booty, you're gonna Scooty. I'm gonna kick you out. Is that inappropriate?
I think so. I still think it's an appropriate request. I think probably if you make somebody dependent on you
It's
in
not a
that way,
request.
there has to
I'm
be.
not asking,
well,
like yes or no.
well-
I'm saying if you don't
well,
do
you are-
this,
No, you are
I will do
asking. You're
this.
asking them to do it, and you're saying you're not forcing them to do it, but you are saying if you don't do it, then I'm not going to be in a relationship
Yeah,
with
yeah.
you. So I think it's an acceptable request. I do think that if you make somebody dependent on you in that way, you kind of have to wean them off. You have to be able to like support them afterwards. So I've had girlfriends who were kind of dependent on me for a while, and I had to still help them after we broke up. And so I don't think that's I think that, like I said,
you would be
there's other
comfortable,
issues
sure.
in there, but the
Yeah.
request is not the
Yeah,
problem.
you would be comfortable though with asking or demanding or requiring in order for them to continue.
Yeah, so this is what I'm pointing out here is he's attaching pragmatic takes to like whether or not the request is okay. The request is okay. But now you're attaching some sort of pragmatic value to it. Like, so I can give a better example than what he gave. So like, let's say I move in with a girl. I don't have a job. We live together. We've been together for a year, and her entire job is OnlyFans. And I'm starting to realize that I'm not okay with her doing OnlyFans. I'm starting to realize that this is something that affects me, and that I would like to ask her not to do it anymore. There's a pragmatic thing there that says, if I tell her not to do it, we're going to be homeless. I don't have a job, and we're making our entire living off of her OnlyFans, business. This hurts both of us, and we both go homeless now. Does that make the question or the request a bad request? No, but there's a pragmatic outcome to this that's a negative outcome that's very different than saying, like, two people who are in a relationship, they both have independence, they both have their own jobs, their own lives, and then you ask that person to do this. These are very like different scenarios where the like whether or not it's a pragmatic request versus whether or not it's a moral request are two very different things.
Continue to be with you and be your partner, right? That they have to give you anal, or they're just gone. Right?
I don't know. I don't think it's appropriate. I think a conversation about sexual needs and boundaries would be more appropriate, where it's, I have these needs. Are you comfortable meeting them? Because to me, that feels more framed like a demand. And especially under the context of like, hey, we've been living together for a long time. We're in a long-term relationship. That's, you know, when assets are becoming combined and stuff like that. That's a lot more difficult. And that puts someone in a position to essentially sexually give in a part of themselves that they may not be comfortable doing, and that's a little icky, if you ask me. I think there's a difference between saying I need butt sex or else versus saying this is a need I have that's not being met. So
Well,
What if instead I say, you're not having sex with me anymore, and I don't want to be with somebody who's not going to have sex with me? Why would you separate one of those from the other, or do you think both are inappropriate?
I would separate one from the other because if we're thinking of a woman and a man and say the woman is being asked for the anal sex, it can actually damage and hurt you. It can actually, it's not a hole that's meant to be all the time, right? So, you know, if that's his requirement, and what if it's hurting her? So, but and I feel like it would be more common to have other reasons other than just simply not wanting to do it versus sex, which is, you know, a common thing in relationship is maybe one person loses sexual interest, the other person wants.
I think I tuned out while she was talking. I don't think I heard any of that. Even just now while she was saying this, for some reason, I completely tuned out.
To still be sexually active. And I do believe that a lot of people require sexual, you know, needs to be met to feel loved. It is a thing in a relationship, and it makes a couple closer. So I don't think it's unreasonable to say you need sex in a relationship, but again, it depends on how often are we talking, right? Are we talking I gotta bend over 3 times a day? Because at that point it's becoming time consuming. I got shit to do. I'm an adult. So
You don't have 6 minutes, Rora. You don't have 6 minutes in your day, right? Is that time consuming? Really? Let's be honest here, okay?
depends on who it's with, I guess.
Fair enough.
I mean, I think if we're being like that pragmatic about it, obviously at that point you probably would have voiced this concern very early in the relationship, before it was a serious enough relationship to where you breaking up with them would be any sort of consequence to this person. So obviously, like, yes, in some sort of pragmatic sense, the person's not going to go like 2 years without anal sex and then realize that this is such a huge problem that they're not willing to deal without it anymore. So yeah, like it's obviously an extreme example, I think, but I have yet to hear like a request that actually just pertains to the relationship or just pertains to the way that those two interact that I think is unreasonable. Or sorry, not unreasonable. I think lots of requests are unreasonable. I think a lot of them are unreasonable. I think even what Jonah was doing might have been a little unreasonable, but I don't think it's wrong. I have no issue with him setting up boundaries. He could be the most insecure person in the world and try to make a relationship work with all of those insecurities, and I don't see an issue with it.
Okay, interesting. I don't, like I said, I think that it's a little more complex, and there could be like, we have to take into account factors outside of the relationship. We have to, right? And certain factors outside of a relationship.
Yeah, but again, like this is what I keep explaining, is that those are different issues, though. You're talking about different things now. Like, it's not just, is the request bad now? It's like, you're talking about practicality. You're talking about, like, is it pragmatic? Is this something that's going to have some like consequence in other areas of the relationship? Like, is the person actually capable of saying yes to your request? And that's a different thing. That's different than whether or not it's okay to ask the question.
Can change whether I think it's appropriate or inappropriate.
Like, this is like saying, well, is it okay to ask somebody for a pencil when you're at school? Well, yeah, I think it's okay to ask somebody for a pencil. Yeah, that's an okay thing to ask for. So, well, one time, this person had a grenade, and they pulled the pin out of it and then put the pencil in it and then put it in another person's hand, and they made them hold the grenade. Now, if you ask that person for a pencil, they're gonna blow up, Tom. So you think it's okay now? You think that's okay to ask people for pencils, Tom? Really? You want people to blow up? So I feel like we're talking about something else now. I don't think we're actually talking about whether or not it's okay to ask for a pencil anymore. I think we're talking about like whether or not the request is pragmatic now. Because there's a very different aspect that we're analyzing now when we're talking about if I ask them for the pencil, are they going to blow up, right? We're talking about different aspects, and so you have to, like, we're analyzing different parts of it separately. And I feel like other people, in this conversation over and over, they're bunching together other aspects that we should be analyzing separately, and they're not doing that. And even as I keep like saying, like, well, no, this is like just a pragmatic part, or this is like whether or not it's reasonable, or this is like, you know, whether or not it's moral. But I'm separating all of these out and compartmentalizing them, and I don't feel like other people are. And this is one of my bigger frustrations with this entire conversation.
Or in some cases, even abusive to make a demand of someone. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's less okay. But that line, I think it's really hard to find as a kind of an overall. We could all have our personal lines, but I think that while we could agree at the extreme ends, it's the middle's fuzzy. It's a fuzzy place. What else you got for us, Tomfoolery? What other takes have I made, or Rora made, or?
Because yeah, so obviously your request is going to have outcomes to it, right? Obviously your request is going to have outcomes to it, and so pragmatics always play into it. But the request is not the thing that we're talking about anymore. The request is not the problem here anymore. It's the outcome. So I don't even have to add in the pencil. I can just say, hey, is it okay to make somebody blow themselves up for you? I can only ask that question. I don't have to add in the pencil. I don't have to add in, is it okay to ask people for pencils in order to find out if you think it's okay to blow somebody up. I don't have to ask you if it's okay to ask somebody to quit their OnlyFans in order to know if it's okay to ask them to quit their job so that everybody goes homeless. I can just say, do you think it's okay to force people to go homeless in order to have a relationship with them, right? These are very different questions. They're different aspects that you're analyzing, and people are mixing them in as one thing.
For things you want to talk about before we let
I
you
only
go.
heard though, so it wasn't either one of you. It was the last caller, whoever
Rita.
the last caller was, the young girl. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had issues with what she was saying, but I hadn't
Sure.
been tuned in long enough to know if
That's
you
okay.
guys said anything that I'd actually disagreed with.
I'm
Sorry.
sure we will. But for now, Tom, I love you. Bye-bye.
So yeah.